If you really want to open the eyes of the American people to why they don't need nearly as much government as they've got, I say let there be a government shutdown.
Same thing that I see in the point that you just made about Biden not knowing that stuff. There was a clip from Bill Maher's podcast where he was talking to the guy who plays Jack Reacher, also a guy from Blue Mountain State, if you know what's good with that. And he was just trying to talk about the housing market and how houses are so much more expensive. And Bill Maher and his smarmy like, no, well, actually, we have government numbers, okay? And you can believe whatever you want. That's religion. But houses aren't cheap right now, okay? And I was just like, bro, no, they're not.
Am I so out of touch?
I believe you know a decent amount about the housing market, correct?
Oh yeah. So right now the housing market's being hurt by a number of different things. One of them is higher interest rates, and that's not gonna come. It's coming down slowly, but not that much. And the problem with it is if you're someone who's buying a house, either for the first time or you're thinking about upgrading from where you are, you've got two whammies on either side of you. One's the interest rates that are higher than what they were 3 or 4 years ago. So you got that. And then you've got the affordability issue. You can't put the cash away because the inflation for basic goods, gasoline, food, utilities, etc., is eating your budget alive so badly right now. You can't put anything away. Right now, and I keep seeing this all the time, is that, credit card default rates are starting to get higher and higher and higher. Why? Because everybody is making their ends stretch out so thin, they're using the credit card to supplement what they can't do in cash. And now it's reaching the point where they can't make the payments.
I'll use my credit card.
And it's not just credit cards either. It's automobile defaults are starting to creep up at the same time.
And so this is when you lapse in your payment, and now you're behind, and you get so much so that your car gets repoed.
Yeah. It's gonna.
And that was always a thing. But we're just seeing more and more and more. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like it used to be people who either were trying to take advantage of something and didn't get away with it, or people who genuinely were victimized by whoever's giving them the loan or whoever's selling them the car or something, and then they're in a situation. It's not, but now it seems like people doing all the right things and just not being able to keep up.
Right, and a lot of that is caused by governmental policy. Reagan's old joke about, the scariest words in the English language are, "Hi, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you." That still rings true to this day. What cracks me up is, and I've always found this to be perversely fascinating, the government will do something. It causes an unintended consequence. People complain about the unintended consequence, and quite appropriately, might I add. Government then decides to come along and create a program to solve the unintended consequence, as opposed to going back to the original issue and undoing what they did that caused the problem in the first place. And in doing so, some people could cynically say, well, they're creating government dependency, and they'd be absolutely right. Because if you have to depend upon the government to solve the problem, you yourself cannot exercise your God-given freedom to decide what you want to do. And there is the issue.
That's right. That's right. He's right.
And that's why I think the 24 election is fascinating on so many levels. It really is, because you got a clear line of delineation between these two men. Now, not to say they're perfect. Believe me, I'm supporting Trump, but not with any, not blindly. This guy's got major faults, but you have a clear line of delineation between the practical effects of the policies between these two men. You've got the purest ideological choice you may have had since Reagan Carter in 1980.
Grandpa, baby, this is the easiest choice I've ever made.
And yeah, I mean, I agree. As somebody who maybe has not been, let's just say, not as I haven't paid attention to politics as closely for as long as you have. Why do you think that's the case? That it's such a clear choice.
Okay, it's not just normally a presidential election is a choice between an incumbent and a challenger. The incumbent has a record. You can look at their 4 years and say, okay, this person's done well. I'm better off under what they've done. I'll vote for this guy. Or you have a challenger who's never been president, and you can say, all right, I'm not doing so good under the incumbent. Let's give this guy a shot because I like what he's talking about. But this election is profoundly different in that you have two incumbent presidents, or maybe it's better to say the incumbent Joe Biden and the quasi-incumbent in Donald Trump. And America hasn't had an election like this since the 19th century when Grover Cleveland ran the third time, much like Donald Trump. And it's a historically fascinating parallel because similar thing happened then. Grover Cleveland got in his first term, came in, cleaned up the patronage system, did a lot of really good things.
This guy is great.
And got thrown out after 4 years. Well, his political enemies screwed up the nation so badly in the 4 years that Grover Cleveland was out that when Grover Cleveland was asked, hey, would you run again? He said, yeah, I'll do it. And resounding victory. And I'm starting to wonder if the same thing might not be about to happen here. I mean, I could be wrong. It's a long way to November, but
yeah,
the historical parallel is not too far off base.
Frightening.
Yeah.
Well, Gonzag has a question here. So speaking of housing, what does Front Porch Conservative think about Biden's comments on tax credits for home buyers? He mentioned it at the State of the Union last night. It was about the only thing that piqued my interest the whole speech.
I like the idea, but the idea of $400 a month over 2 years as a tax credit.
Oh, that thing. Okay, yeah. So I heard that part, and I honestly, biasly, I was like, wait, you're trying to give everybody money? Nah, wait, I'm not. And I kind of, and I was driving, and it just went back. Like if I was watching it, I think I would have went back. Can you explain what he said with that?
Help me understand.
As I understand it, basically what he's wanting to do to help with the cost of home ownership or help with purchase, to give a tax credit of $400 per month to a home buyer, and that tax credit would go for a period of 48 months. So basically, you're talking about $9,600 over 2 years. Mm-hmm. Now, on its face, I don't have a problem with it. I do have some practical questions. Number one, is this for first-time home buyers or is this for anybody? Number one. Number two, aren't we sort of like closing the barn door after the horses got out? Translation, this goes back to what I said a moment ago. We are creating issues that are costing people more money and making it harder for them to save, and you're coming along with a government program to try and fix the problem. Why don't you go back to the original thing that caused people not to have as much spending money, and thereby they wouldn't need the government program?
Well, if they didn't need the government program, then what would we, the government, do?
Exactly.
It's just the standard. I want to say left wing, but it really is just establishment, deep state, a government to create a problem, arguably or sometimes a false problem, create a problem, offer the solution, be the only ones that have the solution, and then fuck up the solution. It's like, what are you even there for?
What would you say you do here?
Exactly, Ian. 2008 all over again. And I mean, it's insane. Yeah, and where that was my question. Where is that money coming from?
Exactly.
That's always my question.
When you got a government that's $34 trillion in debt, and you've now reached the point that systematically you're adding $1 trillion to that every 2 months, which we are at that point. I mean that the government admits that now. It's like, okay, guys, we may not like it, but we got to do something that is pretty drastic here because we can't keep doing this. This is nuts. This is absolutely insane. So
what do you think could be done on a small level that like is it maybe doesn't fix the whole housing crisis, but what would be something that could turn us around and move us in the right direction? Because I mean, I have no idea about that stuff.
Well, I'm going to propose something fairly radical. Whatever the government was spending as far as year over year appropriation, go back to 2019 levels before COVID. Because, as much as I love Donald Trump, hey, that dude tacked on about $6 to $9 trillion of debt in his 4 years. So no, he's not off the hook. He's not off the hook as far as I'm concerned for that. But I want to go back to spending levels of government. The other thing is, I'm still old fashioned enough. Why do we need a Department of Education?
Fuck them. Who needs them?
We definitely don't.
What? Yeah. What do we need? Why do we need the FBI? Let's just get really radical here.
Yeah, it sounded like Vivek. Get rid of them all. Well, no, and I agree.
Look, how many sins could you and I sit here and list off that the FBI has committed over the years, going all the way back to the days of J. Edgar Hoover when the old man ran the department?
It's day one.
Day one. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the wiretaps on Martin Luther King Jr. during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, Waco, Ruby Ridge, Leon Gonzalez. I mean, my God.
Elian Gonzalez. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go all the way. I mean, you all want to go back. I mean, everyone wants to go back in time. Why do we need a federal police department? Let the states and the localities handle this stuff. Yes,
I mean, I'm all for a military, but a federal police, I mean, seems like extra. And shout out to Vivek. Yeah, I think, it's actually surprising because I think even back in 2020, the kind of stuff that Vivek was saying about getting rid of the 3-letter agencies and stuff like that, I think that would have been considered, and I mean, to some extent it was, but I'm saying way back then it would have been way more conspiratorial.
Conspiracy.
And the fact that it was even a message that people were willing to listen to, I think is a little bit of a white pill. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon before the mainstream message is we got to get rid of or any part of the government. But the fact is that there are people who are starting to open up to the idea that in general, less government might be a good a good rule of thumb across the board.
If you really want to open the eyes of the American people to why they don't need nearly as much government as they've got, I say let there be a government shutdown. Now, here's why I say that. When people realize that, okay, because it always cracks me up. Democrats throw up in the face of Republicans in Washington, well, you're going to shut down the government. If you do that, you'll be held responsible for it. To which, I almost wish there were moments I were in Congress because I'd love to look at Chuck Schumer and go, okay.
Do it.
Yeah.
You won't.
Yeah, because here's the dirty little secret about a government shutdown. Okay, first of all essential services of the government will still be maintained during a shutdown. For example, Social Security checks will still go out. Okay, Medicaid payments will still be made. The military will still be operational. We will continue to do all the essential services of government. Now, certain museums won't be open, and maybe certain national parks, or monuments to visit. I mean, and the worst part about it is when they do come back off the shutdown, by law, they're paid retroactive all the days they were out.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Bruh.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. They will pay. I mean, I had a friend of mine used to work for the Department of Labor. And she's about as conservative as it gets, right? I mean, the running joke was she's about 2 clicks to the right of Rush Limbaugh, okay? And she would say, I don't know why we're even worrying about a government shutdown. I'm going to get paid no matter what. The only question is when. It'll either pay me.
That is wrong.
Yeah, they'll either pay me by not shutting down the government, and I'll get my salary every 2 weeks, or when I come back, they'll pay me for however many weeks I was out. I will always get paid no matter what.
That test is wrong.
And of course we know that these people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not like they have savings that they could live on in between pay periods. So we know that they're really hurt. We're putting the squeeze on them.
What are the 4 richest counties in America per capita? They're all the ones in Virginia that surround the District of Columbia. Why? Because it's all the government workers.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full live stream link in the bio and catch me live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.